Hi guys, today we're going to do our next method of subtraction, and like we did with addition, we are also doing the vertical method for subtraction. Alright, so it's the same if you remember with addition. If you have these sort of vertical sums or soldier sums, as they are sometimes referred to, excepting for this method, we break the numbers down. So looking at 76 minus 53, all right, we're breaking down 76 into 70 and 6, and then 50 and 3. All right, it's very important that you keep units under units and tens under tens. And if there were hundreds, then hundreds under hundreds. All right, so sometimes when we make children do these sums, we separate them with columns. All right, just to reinforce that fact. So you can even do that here if you wish, just to make sure that you are applying that principle. All right, once you've broken it down, you can go ahead and do your subtraction. So 3 from 6 is 3, and 50 from 70 is 20. And your final answer will be 23. All right, so there's that sum there. Okay. Let's just rub that out because I have very limited space on the board here. Okay, let's do the next sum. Okay, we have one with hundreds now. 214 minus 104. Breaking that number down. 200, 10, and 4. Again, keep them under their specific columns. So units under units, tens under tens, 100, hundreds under 100. Okay, so we have another 4 here. And you can see here, we have a 0, not a problem. We're just going to put a 0. And then 100 underneath 200. All right, so keep those columns clearly separated, otherwise you're going to run into trouble. Okay, now remember, I've always told you that you always start minusing from the units, just in case you have to borrow. All right, if you start minusing from the hundreds, you're going to find yourself having a problem if you have to borrow. Okay, luckily in this instance, there will be no borrowing. 4 from 4 is 0. 10 minus 0 is 10. And 200 minus 100 is 100. Okay, just put those numbers together and you have 110 as a final answer. All right, so that's that sum. All right, now we're going to try some sums where there's borrowing involved. So let's have a look at this sum. 63 minus 37. Okay, so we're going to break it down. 60 and 3, keeping them underneath their specific columns. All right. So if you have a look here, all right, actually we don't need that line there. All right, if you have a look here, all right, we cannot take away 7 from 3. All right. 7 is a bigger number. So what do? We have to go to the tens bank and borrow. All right, pretend you're out of money and you need more money. So you go to the bank and you borrow. All right, and you go to the next bank. Okay, so the closest bank, in other words. So the closest bank to the 3 is the tens bank. All right, and when you borrow, you have to take a whole 10 away and give it to the units. All right, so now you don't have 60 anymore. You have 50 because you've taken a whole 10 away. All right, you can't just borrow 5, for example, or 6, however much you think you need. You have to take a whole 10 away. All right, so now we've got 13 minus 7, and the answer to that is 6. And here we have 50 minus 30. The answer is 20. And we can give a final answer of 26. All right, Okay, so that wasn't too hectic. I'm sure you all can do that. All right, I'm going to do the next sum here. I've got it at the bottom, but it's a bit awkward for me to write there and film. So that's 231 minus 54. All right, let's rub this out. Okay, now this sum here will involve borrowing twice. Okay, so again, let's break it down first. So we have 231, 230, and 1. Okay, now be careful here, we don't have any hundreds. Don't write it like this, all right, because there you're not putting it under the correct columns and you're going to run yourself into trouble. All right, so very important rule, write units under units, tens under tens. There's no hundreds, not a problem, just leave it like that. All right, so let's have a look at this. Now you're going to see in this instance there's going to be borrowing twice. Okay, so firstly we cannot take 4 away from 1. Okay, so 1 needs some money. He has to go to the closest bank. All right, he cannot go to that bank over there. All right, he has to go to the closest bank. And remember, he's going to the tens bank. He has to take a whole 10. We're going to add a 10 on there and we have 11. All right, remember to change this to the new amount. We've taken 10 off 30. So now we're left with 20. All right, and now we can minus. All right, so 11 minus 4 is 7. Okay, now look over here. We cannot take away 50 from 20. So once again, we have to borrow. I told you we have to borrow twice for this sum. All right, so 20 has to go to the hundreds bank and borrow. And like with the tens, you can't just take however much you want or borrow however much you want. Because it's the hundreds bank, you have to take a whole 100. All right, so we're going to add on 100 then. You now have 120. Change this to what it should be because we've taken 100 away. Okay, so 120, let's do a bit of compensation. Let's pretend that 20 isn't there. 100 minus 50 is 50. Compensate, add on that 20, and you have 70. All right. Now, we left with 100 minus nothing, and we have 100. All right, add them together, and we have 177. All right, so guys, just be careful. I am going to include one sum like this when you do it in your books. So just be careful, make sure that you are applying all the rules. All right, remember, you borrow from the closest bank. If you borrow from the tens bank, you have to take a whole 10. Change the number to what it should be now because you've taken 10 away. All right, because that's something children forget quite often. All right, they think, oh, well, I've still got 30, but actually you have 20. All right, and then if you have to borrow again, then you go to the hundreds bank and you take a whole 100 and you change it to the new amount that you've got there. Let's see how you're doing this, and good luck with that.